An MMA fighter named War Machine viciously and brutally beat his girlfriend, Christy Mack, not too long ago. He was arrested Saturday for assaulting her, and also he assaulted reality TV's Corey Thomas. So she suffered broken teeth, missing bones. Missing bones? I don't even know what that means. God, that's so vicious. And a ruptured liver in the attack. And perhaps, not surprisingly, War Machine was in prison twice before. So during his last incarceration in 2010, he was in San Diego, in a jail in San Diego, for an assault conviction. And he wrote a weekly prison blog that outlined his complaints about prison life. And I want to give you some of this stuff because it's really incredible. It shows you the ramblings of a crazy person. He said, quote, "Me and a couple of other guys have been waging war on these two loud, obnoxious assholes," irony, "who love to yell and bang their door all day and night. Our weapon of choice, by default, is, of course, shit bombs. Capital letters, LMAO, exclamation mark. We have been bombing their cells twice a day for 4 days straight, and since the Deps hate them too, they don't even clean it out. They let them sit and shit for hours at a time." Yeah, very classy guy we're dealing with here. So now here's where the real insight comes in to his mind. Quote, "If your wife is being a bitch, you can't slap her. If your wife is yelling at you, God forbid you yell back. And if some asshole hurts your wife, you cannot protect her. Next thing you know, it will be illegal to fuck your wife. Capital letters, LMAO, exclamation mark. Oh, Jesus, this guy's a child. Maybe then, men in this country will get the fucking hint and move. This country forces you to be a bitch, and then you go to jail. The oppression of men, all capital letters, is worse than oppression of Jews in Nazi Germany. Worse than the slavery of blacks in early America. I'm not exaggerating either." End quote. Man. You know, when I first read this article, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to go on... I got angry, and I was like, I guess I'm going to have to go on a passionate, long rant about this. But then I realized, you know, as I was going through it here, the guy is just a dim bulb. Like, he has a really, really low IQ. It's clear to tell by how he structures his thoughts and the things that he believes. And I also saw him on Joe Rogan's podcast. This is a while back. And it seemed like there was something about his presence that I was like, oh, something's not sitting right with this guy, man. This guy, he could do some shit. And look, I mean, he's a MMA fighter, so he does do some shit, but that's a controlled environment, and that's two willing participants, and it's consensual, and so on and so forth. When you beat the fuck, and this girl is tiny too, okay? When you beat the fuck out of a little girl that's your girlfriend, like, everybody loses respect for you. There are people in jail who are also in there for brutal crimes. Look down extra at domestic abusers, okay? It's like they lump together pedophiles or the bottom of the rung, then domestic abusers. Like, there's no excuse for that, and you can see, you know what this is? This is victim complex 101 right here. The idea that everybody's always coming to get me. I'm always the one being left behind. I'm always the one being snubbed. I don't get a fair shot in this life. And of course, none of that is true. And it's just a matter of you're fucked up in your own mind. Your perception is off. Like if you were an electronic piece of equipment, there would be a few fuses that were blown or wires that had been cut. And in your mind, the synapses and the neurons are just not firing properly, so you can't think right. I mean, for anybody to be stupid enough to say that men today are more oppressed than Jews in Nazi Germany or slaves, is there any getting through to them? No, it's the old saying that I've come up with and I'm using a lot recently, which is, you're simply TFG. You're too far gone.